to school during the period of time when we had all this, sort of, independent learning and, self-paced learning and all the rest of it. So we sort of figured out if you did a unit in this self-paced learning called weights and measurements, one of the things you had to do is it said, take two of your friends, two of your schoolmates, and go out and measure the school and measure the bike sheds and measure. So basically we would do that every week. We would just go in and say, oh yes, I've got to go with Robert and Bruce and we've got to go out and do this. And the teacher would go, yeah, whatever. And then we'd go out and we'd go into Dandenong, go to the pool hall, go to Pot Black in Dandenong, play pool, play the pennies, and then wander back at our leisure. And they'd say, oh yes. And because everybody was measuring the same thing, we had all the, someone went out and got them and said, oh, here's all the measurements you need. And we did that basically for 3 years.
The Williamsdale, it's kind of like having, you're expecting someone to die, but it's still a wrench. It's still because there's all that history. It's really sad. So I hope it's a part sale rather than a full sale.
If you watch the documentary that's on, I think it was on Netflix, I think it was where I saw it and all that, and you get the history of the history of the factory, the history of the team, and also Frank's battle after the car accident and all that, and how how much it means to the family, to Claire in particular. It would be absolutely gut wrenching for them to walk away from it.
I know of other sponsors that have pulled out of race teams, and they say it's because of the COVID-19, and that those teams are folded. So it's obviously not that then. It's obviously not a COVID-19 thing. It's
a bit like the Rich Energy thing. It's like it's one of those companies that seems to be very well resourced, but nobody can actually find any of their product anywhere. It's like you go in and say, "Oh, can I get a Rocket phone or a Rocket phone plan?" And people don't know what you're talking about.
Until this happened, until they announced the sale, I didn't know what Rocket did.
Talking about teams and sponsors disappearing, is Holden and the local, in the world of local motorsport, have formally made their break with Red Bull Racing and Triple Eight Racing.
Maybe Nissan will come back. Nissan will forgive everything and they'll come back as a factory entity.
If you have a look at the cars that sort of could morph into something. I mean, you've got sort of things like the Mazda 6 could probably run. Certainly BMWs, Mercedes. Yeah. None of these factories are coming in. I mean, that's you could see somebody like a Gary Rogers or somebody saying if the regulations come in, and Gary's flagged it, sort of saying, look, if the new regulations make sense, I'd be happy to get back in, financially. I'd be more than happy to get back into it. Erebus have sort of opened up. They've sort of started like a side project.
Special vehicles,
But not just special vehicles. It's like bring your car in for servicing. Like I could take the Gets over there and say, give us an oil change and grease. Thanks, Betty.
I'd love to meet Betty.
She's good for the sport. We've online, I think we've tangled a few times there, and I think it'd be probably safe to say that politically we are very, very much at opposite ends of the spectrum. But then that's probably most people in Australian motorsport with me. So
I've mainly been just watching the E-series and the documentaries, but because the NASCARs are on, at stupid early in the morning, and it's. If you watch everything, you never get any sleep.
I've pretty much been staying here, but I've just been going and picking up the essentials, coming straight back home again. But I went out the other day and I did a bit of shopping, and I did parked the car and walked to a few shops, and I was walking back from one of the shops, and I got halfway up, and now it's still where I normally park the car at the shopping centre. I got halfway back, and I thought, oh my God, it's such a long way. I got so out of the habit of walking anywhere, because I've basically been stuck mostly in this room for the last 2-3 months.
Well, I was sick of it within weeks. within a couple of weeks.
See, I'm not a social butterfly like you, Pete. I mean, you're out there and around, so you have friends, you see. I have my computer to keep me warm.
I've been looking at photos of Bathurst Old and thinking, it's not like not like it used to be. I'm turning into my father.
For the past 10 years, since I turned 50, I was always one of those people who said, I'm never going to become that grumpy old man who goes, yeah, back in my day. But I find myself saying back in my day an awful lot.
I saw an IndyCar, a real IndyCar race, footage of a real IndyCar race, and I thought, gee, the cars are ugly.
I don't mind the aero screen. It's interesting. I mean, because they come back onto the track, this weekend. And what's really what worries me is they're coming back at Texas, and Texas is tricky enough and dangerous enough at the best of times. You've got a whole bunch of drivers who haven't been behind the wheel in about 3 or 4 months, so there's going to be a bit of ring rust. They're not going to, and they've only got 1 day. It's going to be a 1 day meeting, so they're going to get there. And there's people like young Jack Harvey as a rookie, never raced at Texas, never been on an oval like this in his life. I might have had a test earlier in the year, but he certainly never raced at Texas.
I've got an eerie feeling about this year in all classes of motorsport. It's just an eerie feeling.
You look at sort of the years it's been like no matter where you look. I mean, there's been bad news just everywhere, and it's like all you've got to do is just hope that everybody does the right thing and that everybody people do take it a bit easy and just say, look, let's. But you know what racing drivers are like. Once they get in there and the mist descends,
the red mist,
that'll be the end of it. But anyway, well, I think so. Is there anything else that we can chat about in a little Zoom chat?
The chief medical officer or somebody of note has accepted that. Has said yes, you can have your Grand Prix in Austria, so that's good.
That's one thing that has come out there. In fact, they just released. I just got the release on that. Where are we? Just bringing that up. Yeah, so two races at Austria. So basically a month from now, July 3rd to the 5th, the Austrian Grand Prix, and then the sort of what are they calling it? The Steiermark Grand Prix, which is the area that sort of the state that it's in. Yes. So that's the following week, July 10th to the 12th. It's interesting. They're still staying with the 3-day event, which I think is good. Yeah. And also, Formula 2 and Formula 3 are also on the card, which is...
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're going to do all those rounds as well. Into the Hungaro Ring on July 17th to the 19th. 2 races at Silverstone. July 31st to August the 2nd, and then the second race at Silverstone, which is going to be called the 70th Anniversary Grand Prix to celebrate 70 years of the very first British Grand Prix, or the first World Championship.
Yeah, and that's fitting having it there.
What was that?
If you don't have it in Italy, it's fitting having it there, I think.
Yeah, so that's good, and apparently they've now got permission. The government has said that they're providing they meet all of the other regulations, they've got a dispensation to not have to go through the full 14 days of quarantine.
And the other thing they're talking about, which again it's better than nothing. Having racing in whatever format is better than nothing, but they're talking about putting reverse grids in Formula One. I've never liked them, even in supercars. I've never liked them.
Mercedes have already basically vetoed. They've been very firm, and the announcement that came out today about the calendar said that at this stage, no, there would not be reverse grid races, because certainly you can imagine Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari just going no, not happening.
So you have that first race on that first weekend in Austria, then you have the second one, but you put the cars in Parc Fermé for a week, and they can't touch them until the following weekend.
That'd be interesting, but I suppose it would sort of change the preparation of the nature of the cars altogether, because you can imagine that with the World Endurance Championship, if they decided that they needed, say, for the WEC, said, look, we can't have the numbers of people in the pits that you need to do a 24-hour race or a 12-hour race or something, you could understand them doing that, saying, okay, well, we're going to have 2 6-hour races or 3 4-hour races or whatever permutation you want to get your time in, and then we'll put them those into Parc Fermé, because they are genuine endurance events. But I think that Yeah, I don't like sort of messing around with these things. I'd like to see something to shake it up. I do like the idea, and a lot of people don't, but I do and always have liked the idea of a preliminary race to set the grid for the final race.
My fear is that if you have two races in the same location on consecutive weekends, the same guy is going to win.
Yeah, this is something S5000 are playing with. I mean, with their sort of reverse grids and some of their ideas to try and spice up the whole thing and make it a bit more entertaining. Because when it comes down to it, it is all about entertainment. And if they're going to get people, if people are going to come back and start spending money and start watching F1 again and any sort of motorsport, but the good news is at the moment, while there's not all these other sports on, particularly in places like America, it's been an absolute boom for NASCAR has got record ratings and.
Yeah.
NBC have now announced that the Texas race for Indycar, which was going to be on their sort of, their minor channel, their sports network and their online service, is now going onto their main channel in prime time.
Yeah, and with qualifying and the race I saw on Speed Cafe. Yeah.
Yeah, so
on our website.
Yeah, so it's going to be a big day and a big thing for IndyCar because there's going to be nothing else. I mean, they can't say, we're up against the football, we're up against the basketball, which are the two big things, or even the baseball. Don't know when the baseball's coming back, but at the moment, I haven't heard anything. I don't know much about baseball, but
yes.
But certainly it's really good for IndyCar that they're going to have that exposure and for the sponsors. So it's value adding for them to say, hey, you're going to be on in prime time on one of the three big networks. I mean, because it's like here. I mean, you say, well, what's the difference between Channel 9 and Channel 9 Brave or whatever it's called, or Gem, or what's the difference between Seven Mate? They're all television stations. They're all on the same service. There shouldn't be any difference between the regular channel and one of these sub channels. But there is. I mean, for whatever reason. There are people, mostly older people, who will sit there and go, "Oh no, I don't. It's not on the proper Channel 9. It's on that newfangled WYSIWYG thing, Channel 9, and I don't watch it because it's a communist plot, and it'll fade the curtains, and the eggs will lay square eggs already." It sounds like I have nothing but utter contempt for old people, and I'm one myself. So I should know.
Well, what worries me is you said you started becoming the grumpy old man at 50. I'm 49 and I've started.
Hey, just wait till you get to next year, Pete. That's going to be the big one.
I don't know. I haven't thought that far. We might still be in lockdown.
You'd almost be sort of relieved. It'd be like, oh, thank God. Because I never wanted anything. I mean, it was Melissa and Jamie who were responsible for. Who was sort of responsible for that. I didn't know anything about it until sort of was like, because I thought, I thought Melissa and I were just going out to dinner, and then suddenly all you guys turned up, and I was like, okay, this is lovely, but...
I'm not really a party person. I don't...
Oh, no, you're talking to me, Pete. I've been out with you late at night and early morning, remember? Perhaps you're like me, perhaps not anymore, but there was a time.
I watched the first round of the AFL and I was fascinated because I couldn't make out what the players were saying, but I could hear them, and I could hear them communicating with each other.
I think that's another reason why they're keen to bring in especially for the rugby. That was one of the excuses that they used. They said because you can't. You don't have that white noise masking what's happening on the field, and I mean, you got 36 sort of healthy young men sort of crashing into each other at under impact, and they're not saying, that by word that jolly will hurt my old chap. No, they're. So that was it. I mean, they sort of said, like particularly for the rugby league, they said there was going to be sort of, whoever was hitting the beep button, censor button to take out the swearing was going to grow very old very quickly, I think. Like, beep, beep. I know, I thought, beep, 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 beep. Thanks for the chat.
No worries.
So what's the rest of your week?
It's pretty easy, really.
Oh, half your luck.
I'm going to a bar at some stage. I haven't done that yet since the restrictions were eased. So I'm going.
Remember, it's like the old days when I grew up. I mean, you've got to have something to eat now.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'm happy to do that because apparently once you're in and you have something to eat, you can have a number of pots or whatever.
Well, that used to be the old thing for them to stay, but to be allowed to stay open after 10 o'clock, they had to you had to pay, you had to buy a meal. And so what you'd do is you'd go into there and they'd give you a meal ticket, like a piece of paper, which they said, now you've got to take this, and you'd go in and you'd get sort of, a toasted sandwich or usually it was some really sort of crummy stew or spaghetti, tin spaghetti or something like that. And that just cleared the... It just cleared the idea. In Bathurst they did, because apparently you still got to do that in New South Wales in some places. And in Bathurst, we went to a pub at Bathurst during the 12-hour, and I looked at the thing and it said after 10 o'clock, meals, because meals have to be available after 10 o'clock. I said after 10 o'clock, meals are available, and you could have toasted cheese sandwiches or toasted cheese and tomato sandwiches, and they were $35. Yeah. And I said, who in their right mind? And they went, well, hopefully nobody. But if anybody asks, we have meals, and there they are. And if somebody wants to come in and pay $35 for a toasted cheese and tomato sandwich, good luck to them. But so far, nobody ever has.
Yeah. So I'm going to a bar. What about you? What does the rest of the week hold for you?
Yeah, I've got lots of I've got to go to the podiatrist tomorrow. That's why I've got a couple of interviews to do, but I've got to go to the podiatrist. As you might remember on Facebook, I decided to do a bit of operating on myself and tore off my toenail with a pair of pliers. So now I've just got to go and have sort of, the damage I did there has got to be repaired. The reason I did it is I couldn't get in until this week. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they said, no, we can't see you until like July the 3rd. I also found out today that one thing I've got to do tomorrow is I've got to pay my damn licence. I'd forgotten that it's come up again, and it's bloody expensive. It's like, what is it? It's 80... What is it? For $82.80 for 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a... That's a bit of a blow, but But anyway, so I will pay that. But yeah, I've got some interviews that'll come up on In Pit Lane. We've got Keith Williams from the South Australian Sporting Car Club to talk about the scene in South Australia, the state scene, and what's happening with circuits over there with Mallala and the new Bend circuit. Aaron Seaton is going to join us in about a week's time. Still trying to get somebody from drag racing. There's a lot of politics in drag racing, and a lot of people who, yes, can't, whatever. We'd like to get someone from there. But yeah, I mean, we'll continue along until June the 30th when Paul Fletcher MP, the Minister for Communications, takes us out, puts us up against the wall and shoots us. So we will go out with a tear in either eye, but proudly staring him down defiantly and saying, we shall come back for you, you low-life scumbag. Okay. Okay, Pete.
All right, no worries. Thank you.
No worries. I'll catch you later.
See you. Bye.
See you later. Bye.